Okay, hi everybody. Dave here at Signal of Doom doing another YouTube broadcast. I come to you, look, I'm sick. I've had the flu. I've been on flu meds. If you heard the show that's just come out this morning, Stu came over. I'd spent 2 days solo basically in my office here, just working from home and getting more and more pasty and pale by the second. I'm on a stack of cold flu medication and probably have stabilized and will gradually get better. I actually feel quite a bit better today, although I don't have a stack of energy. But what I do want to do is to do a video for the channel, and something that I've been meaning to do for the last week at least. It's Punisher related. Now, Stu and I were going to have this discussion over these couple of issues that I'm going to discuss on the show regularly, but he suggested, considering that it might be better for me to do the YouTube channel because people can really come into my Punisher obsession, which Stu sadly doesn't share. Now, okay, I'm going to cover in the main, I want to look at two Punisher issues that I personally consider to be like the finest one-shot issues with the Punisher. And as we all know, the Punisher is such a brilliant character for a one-shot. And it's something that like Marvel these days have just forgotten, that Punisher is perfect to get it done in like 20 to 22 pages. Like that's perfect for a Punisher storyline for a lot of the time. Now, the two that I'm going to do, two from Chuck Dixon's Punisher War Journal. It's Punisher War Journal issue 40. Hope you can see that. A brilliant story. It's called Good Money After Bad. And the second one is Punisher War Journal 41, Armageddon Express. I believe it's called. Now, that's not to say that I mean, these are really, I love these two. I'd also, when people talk about Best Punisher, everyone in the modern age points obviously to Garth Ennis, Mac's run, and it's great. Like it is great, but they always conveniently forget Chuck Dixon and Mike Barron's runs on Punisher, which was so influential and so good, and also so long. So it's really weird they're forgotten because they number like many issues. And so I'd also say Mike Barron did a lot of great one-shot Punisher stories. My favorite one. It's from the original ongoing, I think it's issue 14, I want to say Social Studies, where Punisher basically infiltrates a gang at school when he comes as a substitute teacher. That's a classic, and that's a whole separate video because I absolutely love that issue as well. But these two that we're doing, the first one this is the one we're going to do on the show, Punisher War Journal 40. Basically, I strongly advise, if you're a Punisher fan, I got hold of both of these paper copies a couple of years ago off eBay for a reasonable price. In great condition. I just keep them in boxes. They're literally the only singles that I actually have now, because I'm all digital or I'm all hard cover and trade paperback. I basically ditched all my singles, and I never had like the thousands, but I ditched them basically when I got with my girlfriend and we moved. But I will never ditch these, and I'm so glad I got them. Full Punisher runs of the Punisher Ongoing, Punisher War Journal, Punisher War Zone. Like, I'll never ditch them. Anyway, so In this Good Money After Bad, what I love about it is Punisher is basically after these guys who are holding up like convenience stores. They're just real idiots, and he guns them down in their car as they're driving along. He's been tracking them, and it's the story behind the story. So he guns down these idiots, but in a separate vehicle, there's this chick with her boyfriend and their other partner, and they're holding up like an armored truck van. And they're psycho. They're really psycho. The villains in this are crazy, which I like, because Punisher is so he's so down the line, and his narration is very dry and very direct. And it's not a depressing Punisher. He's like, that's the thing about I find with Garth Ennis, at times he was so depressed all the time, and it was Punisher kind of gets a bit of a kick out of doing this. His wife and kids were killed, and he's very kind of sad and about it, but he also gets a bit of a thrill out of the kill, I think. He enjoys bringing justice upon these scumbags. And anyway, so and the girl is a classic. The girl in this team, her name's Earlene, Earlene. How would you say that? Earlene? Okay, it's almost Marlene, but it's Earlene. And she's a nutty one. So basically, the head honcho in this gang, this trio that has held up the armored car, is nuts. He's saying to the guys who, are you going to tell on me? Are you going to tell me? We don't even know your face. And then he's like, "Oh, sure you do." And he pulls off his mask so they see his face, and then he shoots them. Like, he's crazy. And the girl's got an itchy trigger finger, and she's just thinking about the cash. And she just turns around and she guns down the head honcho to take the money and split it with her supposed boyfriend. And they're in the car, and she's like, "Isn't it great, Mule?" He's like, "Yeah, great. It's just not the cash. It's the buzz. You get it right." And he's like, yeah. And he's kind of still thinking, is that guy really dead back there? And then she's like, "You're worried? Then let's make things even simpler." And she shoots him. So let's just divide the cash by 1. It's a classic. Like, she's this fiery little redhead. She's a feisty little thing. She's a little bit nuts, but points for trying, love. And so she gets all the cash, puts it in a duffel bag, a big massive backpack thing actually, and she's driving along. And meanwhile, Punisher's kind of banged up from killing these guys before, and he's crashing at this hotel. And here the two stories intersect. And it's amazing what's done inside. Like, what is no more than just a normal comic. All this stuff is happening. It's just popping off. And so basically, they meet at the diner, and she asks Frank if she can get a lift. And Frank's kind of grumpy, and he's a bit sore, and he's like, "No." And then he eventually says, "Frank, like, with women and stuff, like, he's got a bit of a soft spot for them. It's his weak point, as we all know." And she says, "Okay, fine." And then he's like, her name's Julie. She's a talker. The pain I'm in drowns it out. Perks have faded. Can't take them and drive." And so he's just driving her along, and then he sees this guy tailing him in the background. He's like, and she's told him this story about her boyfriend has left her the camping site, so he's just ditched her in the middle of the woods, leaving her with the backpack. That's her story. And Frank's just like, "Whatever, love. Okay, fine." And but it turns out that this guy driving after them is connected. He's connected to the head honcho who did survive, and he's tracking her. And basically, he has this massive shotgun, blasts out, destroys the car. Then it develops into, like, basically a standoff. Punisher kind of rolls out of the car. He's all banged up, and he's coming up, and the woman's there. There's Earlene's there, and this head honcho guy's there. And of course, he's like, "Earlene, you've been a bad girl." And Frank, when he first sees her, is like, you can tell he's kind of like, can't get a shot. She's standing in the line of fire, helpless. He still has that fixation. This is what I love. This is what I think Chuck Dixon did so well. Like, although Frank is like so cut and dry, so military, he's not this man of like many emotions, but he does have that soft streak, which I think helps the story, and it colours his perception. He doesn't spot this. Normally, Frank is fairly on the ball. He's not a stupid guy. He's quite clever. But he's just got this blind side. And then he sees her talking to him, talking to the head honcho, and the head guy's like not having any of it. Like, her excuses now aren't buying any water. She's like, "But Eddie's dead, Big. Now there's just you and me." And he's like, "Ain't no more you and me, Earlene." And then she just drops down. And Chuck says it's an isolacy stance. I don't even know what that is, but it's obviously some sort of a shooting stance where you go down in like sort of knee bang and proper shooting stance, a proper kill stance, and she guns this guy down. And then Frank has finally realised that she's up to no good. And "You got that right, Big. Maybe next time you wear a bulletproof hat," is what she says. And then Punisher comes up, and he's holding his submachine gun, which I love. And "Leave the money and you can walk away." And then she tries to sort of sweet talk Frank, who now has seen through it. He's watching her eyes, like he's watching these crazy eyes. And he's like, "Leave the money and walk away." And she's like, "You want the cash? You can have it. You can have a lot more than that. You hear what I'm saying?" One of my all-time favourite Frank lines I hear, "I got an idea that giving that away doesn't mean much to you. The eyes flash just enough." And Frank just guns her down. Like, he sees it. He realises that's when and he's like blindsided again. And one of my favourite lines of Punisher, "I thought she was Miss America and Snow White rolled into one." Now, and that's basically the story. And then Frank just is headed back down the highway, and he's got the money, because that's one thing we all love about Frank. He takes the money from the criminals to fund his war on crime, which I've always thought is justified. Like, I mean, who else are you going to give it to? Like, the government? Like, fuck that. Yeah, it's awesome. But when I read this, I just, and I only read it when I got the paper issues. I was like, what a brilliant Punisher story. And I'm so surprised that more writers in the modern age don't do stuff like that with Punisher. I know Becky Cloonan in her recent run, right at the end when she'd been taken off the title, did do a couple of one shots, and they were really cool. Like, Punisher really suits a one shot. And I mean, for all the 6-part epics, for all the, someone will come up to me, and they don't really come up to me, but online, and point to like the Slavers, which is like, I don't know, God knows, say 6 issues on Garth Ennis. Great story. But what I'm saying is, like, have a 6-issue, run of something, a story. But Frank is so well suited to just being thrown in the middle of these situations, and he's got such a clear sense of what he believes is right and wrong, that it's almost perfect. It's almost a perfect episodic character. And I mean, he's flying around in War Machine's fucking outfit, which I just, God knows how they came up with that. That just feels like someone at the end of a very long night just going, hey, why don't we just throw Punisher in fucking War Machine's outfit, and just, he could be Punisher Iron Man now. Like, we don't care anymore. We're just coming up with the most random shit possible. And then someone else has just gone, tick it off. Let's do it. Let's run with it. Let's run it into the ground for like 2 years. Like, what do we care? I mean, Frank, Urban Commando, like, things have only gotten worse. Crime has only gotten worse. Like, and there's so much of it around, and like, drugs. It's not like the drug problem's gone away. It's not like the stories aren't there. I've often said it, like, where's Frank blowing away some gangbangers? Like, why not? Like, who doesn't want to see that? Who's a Punisher fan already? Like, I mean, who are they aiming it for when it's like, oh, we're hoping the Iron Man War Machine fans really buy into Punisher? It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, take it back to the roots a bit and get into fighting get into the cities and start fighting. Anyway, enough of my rant on that, because the second, and I really, really like that road trip issue. I think it's a really good example of good writing inside like 22 pages. The second one is Punisher War Journal, the Armageddon Express. This one's good as well. And I should mention the artist, actually. I'm sorry for not mentioning, because I love the art in both of these issues. The art in Punisher War Journal 40, the road trip one we just discussed, Stephen Butler was penciler, Kim DeMolder was inker. And it is such a well put together issue. And similarly, Armageddon Express, obviously again Chuck Dixon writing, and Gary Kasperwitz, I think that's how I pronounce his name. He did a lot of Conan. We just recently did something on the show for him as well, Stonewall's Arm. Very, very gifted artist. I've always loved his stuff. And he does the Armageddon Express one. And the Armageddon Express one is funny, again, because in this, Punisher has been thrown into another situation. He's got to stop this train that's he's after members of Green Planet, a group on the lunatic fringe of the ecology movement. Ecology? Is that how you say it? Ecology movement? Most environmentalists encourage you to recycle and plant a tree. Green Planet wants you to blow up a power plant and assassinate a paper company exec. So they're the militarized, like, fucking Greenpeace. And anyway, what makes this funny is just Punisher's dedication. Like, so I think they've got like chemical weapons or something in the train, and they've got like the biggest nutbag. He looks a lot like Hugo Strange, running his little band of psychos, and he wants to save like the Rocky Mountain louse, and he just doesn't care. People are like, but if we blow up this train with all this stuff, the army is bringing a train full of plutonium waste to be dumped in the Rio Verde Canyon area. That's the last breeding ground of the Rocky Mountain woodlouse. The radiation will destroy an entire species. And he's like, do you think Mr. and Mrs. Average American Moron give a fuck about the Rocky Mountain woodlouse? Well, when we spill 2 tons of rad waste over the Gunston Pass, I'll sit up and take notice. And then someone else goes, but won't they kill a lot of the other animals? Try to look at the big picture. We're all trying to save all of Spaceship Earth, right? The sacrifices must be made. So he's just a raving lunatic. And obviously, it's, I mean, you put that out today, I mean, who's going to get offended? Someone will, but like a lot of Punisher fans like me would just, it's a slightly exaggerated take on reality. I don't really see the problem. Anyway, so meanwhile, Frank's like insinuating his way into the train, like he gets onto the train and like he's kind of complaining that normally he plans better than this, and he interrupts like basically I'll show you the panel. Like basically, it's not a bachelor party, it's like a, what do you call it? Like it's college party, like a frat party on a train, and Frank sort of rolls through there, and he's like going, "What the hell's going on? Get everyone to their cabins! I'm after these environmentalists," and they're all like in his face and stuff, and just party on, dude. And this one woman goes with him, and I like in this one because in the previous one he had the lady with him who turned on him, whereas this time he's just got the college chick with him who's she's got a lot of guts. I'll give it that much. And so she jumps onto the train with Frank after he ditches the other the other part of the train, which goes away with all the college people. And then now Frank's after the actual guys with the radiation waste. And she's got more guts than brains, one more innocent to worry about. And he's fighting his way through this train panel. And again, what you can do in one issue. And it's been so forgotten. And I almost think it's because when I look at the panels here, I look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 panels often seems to be the way. Often a lot of these pages are 5-panel pages. And I'm no art critic, guys, but it's compact storytelling, and it's great art, and I mean, it's splashy. Someone will have a look at this and go, "Oh, it's so 90s," and I'm like, "Yeah," and it's really good as well. Anyway, so and she's along for the ride. Frank's slowly eliminating all the lieutenants, and he's coming up with some good stuff here. Basically, there's a really good one where these guys have kind of got the drop on him, and he sees the pass, the railway pass coming up. He ducks down. Everyone always feels sorry for that coyote, not me. And these two guys get their heads taken off by that. And there's like no loyalty amongst them. Like they're chopping and changing at each other. They don't care about, like, basically they're just psychos. Like there's a line here where he says, "There's always a couple of these guys in every group. They used to be all screwed up on dope. Now they're all screwed up on a cause." I mean, this is just great writing. Like, so it's that dry narration. And I've always said, honestly, if I was going to do Punisher, I would frankly do this kind of style Punisher. I mean, I'm not saying I would do it at the same fucking level of quality as like a Chuck Dixon, but that's what I would go for, and only because, like, it's nothing to do with politics whatsoever. It's to do with just there's a crime, you've got this perfect hero for it, who's got a cool backstory, but you don't need to like live there too long. You could just toss him into situations. It's the kind of character I swear you could do like 100 issues of, and not get bored. Because it's one of those ones where you could look in the paper and get ideas. And like people will be like, "Oh, that's so unoriginal." Well, John Lennon looked in the paper and got ideas for songs. Like, people do it. Bob Dylan did that. It's just that, and with the news coverage today, like, constantly you don't have to read the fucking paper. You could look on the TV or on the internet. There's plenty of stuff you could do. And anyway, so it gets really cool. Because basically Frank fights his way to this guy, I forget what his name is, Dr. Artemis Greel. And he's just basically just a massive psycho, and he's kind of like he's just so death orientated, and that's all he cares about really. But Frank gets the drop on him. The train collides, it kind of crashes, and he gets squashed by the U.S. Army. What do you call it? Like, trailer? Sorry, that's my flu. The dying days of it. And he conveniently gets squashed by the very thing that he wanted to blow up over the pass. And Frank survives, and the girl survives, and she's like, and Frank lets her keep the coat, and she says, "They thought they were heroes, right? But they weren't. You're a hero." I'm a hero for doing this when I'm so sick. And Punisher says, "I'm no hero. Heroes save the world. My world's past saving." And walks off into the distance. And what do you know? Another comic, one issue, one and done, that's like probably on a Punisher scale like a 9 out of 10. I mean, seriously. I mean, and that's just 2 episodes of just 2 random episodes pulled out there from Chuck Dixon's Punisher run in the 90s. Now, obviously, but people are like, "Why are you referencing stuff from like 92? Well, the reason I'm referencing it is because it points to it works so well. And you could take that character and you could put him in. You could put him in inner city. You could do that story. You could modernize it up slightly, but the basic elements of it, just like any good action movie and stuff, would work so well. I'm hoping that 2 things. When I bring something up like this, and I'm totally open for discussion, and please, anyone, message the Signal of Doom Facebook page. I will respond, or also signalofdoom@gmail.com as well. So I invite all kinds of discussion. People who think the Punisher's only got 1 or 2 stories in him simply misunderstand the Punisher. You can go the kind of more sort of tortured route, depressed route, which Ennis certainly explored, where he's kind of like a shell of a person. But you can also go the kind of more action-orientated route where he's a really strong character in his own right, and he still has the tragedy. Like Frank constantly references, my wife and kids died in Central Park. That's the mission. The war on crime never ends. And I don't know. I just feel like there was a reason it was so big and so successful, and people responded to it. And the audience, there's a young audience that I think would pick it up as well. Like, I picked up Punisher, I was like 13, 14 in school. You know what I'm saying? And like, not the most popular kid in class, but not that I really gave a fuck. But, and then I picked up a Punisher comic. It was one of Mike Barron's comics, and it blew my mind. Oh, and it was the simplicity as well. The simplicity of the character and the storytelling. The two things merging. So yeah, that kind of wraps up. I just wanted to bring those two issues up to sort of let everyone have a think about that, and maybe they can explore it as well. Like, you can find these issues. It's really frustrating that they're not available either digitally or in trade. It's just ridiculous. And I swear to God, there's probably some politics behind it, like office politics. But it's like, really? Like office politics from fucking, the 90s? I mean, it just is bizarre. But regardless, Marvel, get on this. You've started finally releasing, Chuck Dixon and Mike Barron's work, and I think, everyone's starting to appreciate it. Like, Punisher fans are loving it. Like, picking up the Capital Punishment Epic Collection that came out recently was just awesome. So, I would say that, with the shows coming out now, like second season coming out, there's absolutely no reason to hold back on the Punisher 90s content, because it's some of the best Punisher content there was. All the end of stuff is out there. It's all available. So make it all available. You're not talking to a guy who stopped reading Punisher in like 92. I've read pretty much all of it, like that it's come out since then. Like, a couple of times I've had to walk away, like when he turned into Frankencastle. Yeah, I tuned out. But overall, I've read the vast majority of it, and I see no reason to hold any of it back from being in print, and especially available digitally and on Marvel Unlimited. I mean, these people pay for their Marvel Unlimited subscription. It'd be nice to see, all of it available, basically. Okay, that kind of wraps up my comments on Punisher for now. I've probably got like deeper thoughts, but if anyone's got any sort of like ideas and comments and stuff, and runs of Punisher they would recommend to new readers who probably aren't familiar with the character or only know him from the show, where would you point people? Is one of my questions. I mean, I think someone like Matt Fraction had a very good Punisher run. It's very often forgotten, but I thought it was actually a very good run. I remember picking it up in singles at the time. What else? Obviously, I'm coming off the flu. There's also the news of, I don't know if there's any Lobo fans out there. I'm kind of a fan without being a hardcore fan. I'm not super knowledgeable on the character, but I see Michael Bay's in talks to direct Lobo. We mentioned this on the show. I sort of bounce around in my head between, like, this is terrible and maybe it's not so terrible. Maybe this is actually kind of like a bit of a DC three-pointer from like half... It feels like from half court, though. Like, it's quite random. I mean, certainly you would hope they would do their version of Deadpool, but like it's hard to get lightning in a bottle. Like, the Deadpool writers knew exactly what they wanted. To just try to mimic that with Lobo, who in my mind has never been quite as popular. I know he blew up very big for a while. I knew Alan Grant had a very good run on Lobo, but I don't know. I just feel like it's not like they're going to get Alan Grant to write the script, are they? They're going to go for the Hollywood writers who've probably never read an issue of Lobo in their lives, like, frankly. And he does look visually very cool, though. I will say that. That's one thing I would say that I sort of am not so dismissive of the idea, because I think Lobo is actually one of the coolest looking... I look at that, like, 90s version of Lobo, and I'm like, that's a very cool design. So... That's something, I guess. I guess it would be CGI, or maybe a wrestler. I don't know who could do that. But anyway, that's probably enough for this episode. I really do try to do 2 videos a week, and I've just been sick. I've been sick all week, sort of thing. So that's why there's only been this one. And I hope I've done those Punisher War Journals justice. Look, seek them out on eBay. Petition Marvel to get them released in just the full runs. Like, let's start from Punisher ongoing issue 1 to like 20 and put it in a collection, and Punisher War Journal. We've actually done the first volume of Punisher War Journal at last. Well, let's move on to volume 2, because Punisher's only getting more and more popular. And finally, there was talk, and I don't know if it's confirmed yet, that the Punisher season 2 show will be featuring the Slavers, which is actually a very good. I mean, don't get it wrong. I do like Garth Ennis's Punisher a lot. I think it's very good, and I really did enjoy that very dark story, and a lot of his stories for Punisher, really. And there's talk that Slavers is going to be the basis of the season 2 show, and I'm all for it, because that means Frank will be going up against and taking down pedophile rings and stuff. So he'll be going up against crime. He won't be fighting so much against like the government conspiracy angle. He'll be going back to basics, which I love. I love it when Frank should be in the inner cities cleaning them out and stuff, and like just wasting creeps. Like, that's Punisher to me. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Subscribe to the channel, obviously. There will be more videos. Give us a like on Facebook to the Signal of Doom Facebook page, and I've also got the discussion group called Signal of Doom as well. So like both of those things and join the conversation. Thank you so much, but good night.